Welcome to Travel Talk.
Hello everyone, welcome to Travel Talk. We're going to start off with the theme of the week, which is European travel. So we decided this theme as it's a very, very broad theme, and lots of people have been sending in questions to us about European travel. So we're going to answer a few of those later for you. And then after that, I'm going to be revealing the Guess the Place from last week. So I'll give you some interesting facts about a city, basically, or it couldn't be a city. I've just given it away now, haven't I? Let's be honest, it is a city this week. Only one person has guessed it. It was quite easy, I'm not gonna lie, we made it quite easy for you. So I'm gonna recap these for you now. So number 1, it's a diverse city. Number 2, there's a network of underground tunnels used to travel. Number 3, it's home of a lovable bear from Peru. Now that's a big, big hint for you. Number 4, guards stand at ease in this city, guarding a baked bean. Yeah, that's right, I did actually just say baked bean. Number 5, the last one, is you'll find well-known street food markets all around. So, this is our first Guess the Place, so we did make it a little bit more obvious for you. We wanted lots of people to get it. So finally, the reveal. Where do you think it is? It's London, of course. So I'll talk you through it. Home of a lovable bear from Peru. That's, of course, Paddington. And if you haven't seen the film Paddington, do check it out. It's such a great family film. Baked bean is Cockney rhyming slang for queen, apparently, which I only found out a few weeks ago. So we've got a new one for you this week. If you want to review the clues, I'm going to give you them, and then they're going to be posted on Instagram account on our Instagram account later, which is at Travel Talk Show. So that's at Travel Talk Show. So here are the clues for our next Guess the Place. Number 1. It's built on poles, as the city is 1 metre or 2 below sea level. So there's another clue for you as well. It is a city again. Number 2, things might get a bit hazy in this city. Number 3, biking is a must in this destination. Number 4, you can enjoy some raw pickled herring, if that's your thing. Number 5, you won't go short of canals and bridges here. So there you go, those are your clues. They will be posted on Instagram later today, as I've said, and the reveal will be in the week. And for the last time, if you want to get us on Instagram, it is at Travel Talk Show. That's Travel Talk Show. So we've got some great things coming up to you next. Next, we've got the Q&A section, where there's lots of people sending in questions for us. To know many different things about traveling. So our topic of the week this week is Europe. So first of all, we've got a question that relates to not just Europe, but relates to all over the world. And this question is, how do I avoid looking like a tourist? So first of all, I just want to ask this person, why do they not want to look like a tourist? I know there's many different reasons that you would not want to look like a tourist. For example, if you just want to feel a bit safer and you just feel like, for example, there's some spots on Las Ramblas in Spain where in Barcelona where people are notoriously mugged. So like if they say, for example, didn't want to look like a tourist because they didn't want to stand out and be an easy target for people that want to steal from them, that's completely understandable. But I think there's nothing wrong with looking like a tourist, if you know what I mean. So first of all, if you do want to not look like a tourist, here are some tips. So if you're carrying a camera around your neck, maybe just don't carry the camera around your neck. Put it in your bag until you need to use it. Another one is if you've got clothes with writing on them, maybe like if they say, for example, you're from the UK and you've got clothing with quite obviously British slang on it, like like from Love Island or something like that, obviously don't wear that top because that's going to make you look like you're quite obviously from the UK. That also goes with if you're going to, say, for example, France. I wouldn't wear a t-shirt that says I heart France, as it's a very touristy thing to do. Something else is that people don't think about is researching the local etiquette and the social etiquette in that place. So for example, in the UK, even if the light's red, people just walk across the road, they don't care. But in other countries, it's seen as very, very disrespectful to walk across the road if it's red. So like, for example, Japan, so not many people know that. But if you didn't know that, there you go, then you've learned something else. So research the social etiquette in that country as well. That goes for things like tipping as well at restaurants. Just silly little things that you would do in your own home country that may not be acceptable or may be considered rude in another country. So those are some things that you can do to avoid looking like a tourist. But then again, like I've just said, if you are on holiday, why worry about looking like a tourist? Just have a great time and don't care what anyone else thinks. Just be respectful to the inhabitants of that country that you are travelling to. So I've got another question here. I'm 19, I want to travel Europe, but I don't think I'm going to have any money. What can I do? I don't think I'm going to have enough money. Sorry, that's what they've said. What can I do? So this is a great question, and I've got absolutely ideas and ideas and ideas for this person. So travelling Europe's not actually as expensive as most people may think. So depending on where you're travelling, first of all, you need to think about your first flight. So if you're travelling from a country outside of Europe, your most expensive thing that you're going to have to think about is going to have to be your flight to Europe. So pick the shortest destination, I would say, to where you're travelling from, and then there you go, you're going to get the cheapest flight. Use a website like Skyscanner to pick the cheapest days to fly on, the cheapest month to fly on even, and then you can probably find yourself a cheap flight. Speaking of flights, you can get really cheap flights once you're in Europe. I mean, most flights you can get for under £100, which is around $125 dollars, I think. So you can get most flights for really cheap. So for example, there's some flights on budget airlines such as Ryanair for around £20, which is $25 US. There's of course other budget airlines such as Wizz Air, EasyJet, and the list goes on. I will just say, when booking with a budget airline, though, be careful because they can slip you up on other ways. So, for example, some of them you have to pay to sit next to the people that you want to sit next to. So if you're going by yourself, obviously there's no issue there. But if you're going with friends and family and you're a bit of a nervous flyer, you really want to sit next to them, I would suggest making sure you have a look at that. Also, luggage. Your luggage is not free on these budget airlines as well. So make sure you check that one out. So even if you are always thinking about flights and you're thinking, oh, flights are the only way you can get around, it is not the only way you can get around. You can travel through Europe in many other ways, such as trains, interrailing, and even hiring a car and coaches as well. Especially if you're planning on coming to the UK, they've got lots of cheap coaches that you can catch. I mean, I know coaches aren't exactly the most glamorous thing in the world, but at the end of the day, if it's cheap and you're on a budget, then why not? I mean, one of them in the UK is Megabus. They do really, really cheap coaches. I think there was a coach for like £1 to go to like somewhere that I saw before. So I am going to be explaining a little bit more about how you can use trains to get around Europe a little bit later on in the show, particularly interrailing. I don't know whether any of you have heard of that. If you haven't, it's really, really great. I'll just explain it quickly. You can get a train pass essentially, and you say, for example, you're going to Europe for 2 weeks. You say that you want to travel on 3 days out of those 2 weeks. Then you can travel anywhere on those 3 days. You can pick to travel on 3 days. You can pick to travel on 5 days, and as long as you only travel on those days, you can go wherever you want. And then maybe like stay in a hostel or an Airbnb, or even just like with friends and family. And that's an option for you there. So if you want to travel Europe, there is loads of other ideas as well, depending on how serious you are about travelling and your commitments in your own personal life. So have you thought about getting a job in Europe maybe? A summer camp, or even a hotel, a hospitality, working in a bar or in a restaurant? Speaking of hospitality, you could also apply to be cabin crew on planes or even as cruise ship staff. So there is, I've got to be careful how I say that one, eh? So there's so many options that you can do. Obviously, it depends on how tied down you are, but go for it. I'd recommend travelling. Obviously, of course, I would recommend travelling. I love travelling. It is the Travel Talk show. And if you have any questions that you want to send in that you're thinking, oh, you know what, this sounds really interesting, I'm thinking I can get some good advice here, well, I am open for advice.